Monday of the 34th week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the book of the prophet Daniel. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came and laid siege to Jerusalem. The Lord handed over to him Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and some of the vessels of the temple of God. He carried them off to the land of Shinar and placed the vessels in the temple treasury of his God. The king told Ashpenaz, his chief chamberlain, to bring in some of the children of Israel of royal blood and of the nobility, young men without any defect, handsome, intelligent and wise, quick to learn and prudent in judgment, such as could take their place in the king's palace. They were to be taught the language and literature of the Chaldeans. After 3 years' training, they were to enter the king's service. The king allotted them a daily portion of food and wine from the royal table. Among these were men of Judah: Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. But Daniel was resolved not to defile himself with the king's food or wine, so he begged the chief chamberlain to spare him this defilement. Though God had given Daniel the favor and sympathy of the chief chamberlain, he nevertheless said to Daniel, "I am afraid of my lord the king. It is he who allotted your food and drink. If he sees that you look wretched by comparison with the other young men of your age, you will endanger my life with the king." Then Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief chamberlain had put in charge of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, "Please test your servants for 10 days. Give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then see how we look in comparison with the other young men who eat from the royal table, and treat your servants according to what you see." He acceded to this request and tested them for 10 days. After 10 days, they looked healthier and better fed than any of the young men who ate from the royal table. So the steward continued to take away the food and wine they were to receive and gave them vegetables. To these 4 young men, God gave knowledge and proficiency in all literature and science, and to Daniel, the understanding of all visions and dreams. At the end of the time the king had specified for their preparation, the chief chamberlain brought them before Nebuchadnezzar. When the king had spoken with all of them, none was found equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and so they entered the king's service. In any question of wisdom or prudence which the king put to them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his kingdom. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "Glory and praise forever." Blessed are you, O Lord, the God of our fathers, praiseworthy and exalted above all forever. And blessed is your holy and glorious name, praiseworthy and exalted above all for all ages. Glory and praise forever. Blessed are you in the temple of your holy glory, praiseworthy and glorious above all forever. Glory and praise forever. Blessed are you on the throne of your kingdom, praiseworthy and exalted above all forever. Glory and praise forever. Blessed are you who look into the depths from your throne upon the cherubim, praiseworthy and exalted above all forever. Glory and praise forever. Blessed are you in the firmament of heaven, praiseworthy and glorious forever. Glory and praise forever.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. When Jesus looked up, he saw some wealthy people putting their offerings in the treasury, and he noticed a poor widow putting in 2 small coins. He said, I tell you truly, this poor widow put in more than all the rest. For those others have all made offerings from their surplus wealth, but she, from her poverty, has offered her whole livelihood. The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading comes from the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verses 1 to 6 and 8 to 20. Now the book of Daniel was actually written during the persecution that the Jews suffered from the Seleucids, around 175 BC. But most of the stories are told as if they occurred much earlier during the Babylonian exile. We know this book wasn't written at that time because a lot of the historic details are incorrect. It was written later using stories of old times to give encouragement to the people who are being persecuted. In this particular case, we hear the story about 3 young men who are chosen to be in the court of the king of Babylon who has conquered Jerusalem. Now this was a very common practice. A conquering country would take some of the noble sons, take them to their own land, put them in the court so that they could learn Persian, Babylonian, Assyrian ways, and then return to their homeland and rule. Well, these young men were treated very well. They weren't slaves. They were educated in the court. They ate from the table of the court. The problem is, these 3 young men are Jewish, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and they want to keep the Jewish ways. So they asked the leader of the court whether they could possibly eat just vegetables and water. The person in charge of them is a little worried about this because if they look poorly, then it'll be on his head. Nevertheless, he allows them to do it. And in fact, after a 10-day trial, they're healthier than the others. What is the message being given in this passage? That Jews should keep the dietary laws. They shouldn't eat like the pagans. They shouldn't eat pork. They shouldn't eat foods that are not kosher. They should have the courage to stand up for what they truly believe, just as these 3 young men had the courage. The Gospel comes from Luke 21, 1 to 4. Jesus sees a poor widow putting 2 small coins in the temple treasury, and he says she has given more than those who gave large offerings, because those who gave large offerings gave from their surplus. This woman is giving everything she has. So notice how God judges things in terms of what we can do. Some of us have received great gifts from God, and God expects more from us. But some of us have received very few gifts. God expects less from us. God realizes what we are capable of doing, and that's all He asks us to do. So we shouldn't look at the things we do which fall short of what we think we could possibly do and condemn them. We should leave it in God's hands and do the best we can, trusting that God will be merciful and understanding for that which we can't do. And may God bless us.